Ladies and gentlemen, my name is John Hardowitz. Our speakers today are volunteers. The best way to thank them would be to provide honest and useful feedback with the session evaluation at the conclusion of our session today. Our tech master will drop it into the chat towards the end of the session. If you miss it, do not worry. We'll follow up with an email at the conclusion of LACE. If you're not speaking, please remember to keep yourself on mute to avoid background noise. We have a fun and interactive session planned today. If you want to see the speaker and make the presentation smaller, drag the speaker window to the left. Thank you. And now let me introduce our speakers. Brenda Scher, Presentation Mastery 5, Humor Level 5 is the Club Presentation Chair of the Club Growth Team. She has a vested interest in hybrid meetings as a member of several clubs that are currently exploring hybrid meetings. She's been an active member in Founders District for 5 years, serving as area director and in multiple club officer roles, as well as being a repeat speech contestant over the years. Kathy Hughes, DTM, is the Program Quality Director in Founders District. She's been a member of Toastmasters for 11 years and a district leader for the last 6 years. Kathy is passionate about clubs being successful in their membership goals and sees hybrid meetings as an option that many clubs may be able to use to grow their membership. Brenda and Kathy are co-presenting to give you both sides of the hybrid meeting equation. The decisions clubs have and how to best fit the needs of individual clubs and members to be virtual, in-person, or hybrid, and hybrid equipment and configuration solutions that clubs need. Please help me welcome Brenda Scher and Kathy Hughes.
Thank you. I'm going to start by just turning it right over to you, Brenda, to begin our session.
Welcome, everybody, to our Excel at Hybrid Meetings. Today, our agenda is deciding whether hybrid is really the right option for your club. We're going to provide you with a bunch of tools to support the decision-making process. We're going to give you some hybrid considerations to take into account. And lastly, we're going to show you technology as well as configuration options. You and your club have a decision to make. We've been virtual for several years now, and we're starting to meet or want to meet face-to-face. And so is hybrid the right option for your club? Does your club want to be a hybrid club? We're going to discuss that in further detail today. To hybrid or not to hybrid? There's advantages and there are disadvantages. One of the advantages is, let's say I'm stuck at work. I can jump on and I can join the meeting while Kathy's at the physical location. I can still be part of the meeting. So there are true advantages. The disadvantages, and we're going to show you some of them, are really connecting with both the virtual audience and the in-place audience, and really making sure that you're not forgetting one or favoring one over the other. Oh, there's so many tools out there. This is a hybrid meeting decision-making guide, and you're going to go through the process, and it's going to be planning for your club for hybrid meetings and things that you should consider, whether you want to be hybrid. So on the left side are a series of questions that it should be yes if you're going to be moving forward with the hybrid decision. On the left should be questions that should be a no in terms of moving forward. So different perspectives, different angles of decision making. And then you're going to score your club in terms of how they came out. And this will help you make that decision. We have a beautiful hybrid flow chart, and I believe John is going to drop it in the chat for you. And this flow chart is going to assist you whether you need to be meeting face-to-face, virtually only, or hybrid. And we're going to have this as a group discussion session right now. And I'm assuming John has dropped that in because it is kind of busy. But what the important thing is, it takes you at the very top and it walks you through. So take a look at it. And are you a club already meeting hybrid? And kind of go through the flow chart. Are you a club only meeting virtually? Go through the flow chart. Are you a club that meets face to face? And did you make the right decision? And Kathy, do you want to add anything more to it? Oops, Kathy.
Sorry, I have to go back, but I'm going the wrong direction here.
Oops, close your eyes, everybody.
Don't look ahead. Don't get too far ahead. No, that was very good, Brenda.
Okay.
It applies also to people that are just planning for the future. Do they want to change the way that they're meeting? And if they think they're moving toward hybrid, they would expect to take the flowchart path in that direction. And if they think they want to go back to in-person only, that's going to give them support for, is that the right decision for their club or not?
Right. And so take about, I believe Sylvia dropped it in the chat, so you can open it up and make it a little bit bigger because it is a data-rich slide here that we have for you. And we want to give you a chance to look at it. And then we're going to have a couple of individuals report out what the decision was for them and their club. And feel free to put any questions in the chat. And Sylvia will let us know if there's anything that we can address. Oh, 2:48, Kathy. Should we give it till 2:55?
Yes, I think that's a good amount of time. So to reiterate the question again, is we'll probably try to go with 3 different scenarios of people that have gone through the flow chart with the question of what they want for their own club and come to a decision that they want to go hybrid, or to a decision that they don't want to go anything but Zoom and they want to stay on Zoom only. Or do they want to go back to in-person? And do the answers to all these little question boxes through the flow chart support that decision? And is this helpful? And that's kind of what we want to hear from various people. Is there anyone out there that does have a club that they think wants to meet only Zoom? And can we take that path through the flow chart for our first volunteer? You see,
let's see who we've got here in terms of participants. I know Sophia is online here. And Sophia,
Would you be willing to take a stab at answering this question? I think John just put the PDF of the flow chart directly in the chat, and then there's a link to the shared document, but hopefully everyone can access it.
but I believe, Sophia, you're a member of a club that's currently only online, correct?
Yes, we're currently only online, but there are some of we're starting some more discussions because some members would like to possibly gradually try something in maybe hybrid, because we have some members that are geographically remote, so it's hard if we only do a gradual in person, then some people can't make it.
So does this flow chart help you come to a decision?
I think it's helpful for considering, but I think because we won't be able to do just hybrid, and then we might be doing it like once in a while. So that's still in discussion. David had shared this one, so it was very helpful.
Yeah.
Volunteer for possibly our next scenario in the chat.
Okay. And our next person is Kathy.
Justine Fairman?
Justine. Okay, Justine. What was the outcome for you and your club? And are you thinking of changing?
Hello, I'm currently at a cafe, so I'm not sure if you guys can hear me well. But,
We can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So for our club, I actually joined when it was completely virtual, and we did try a hybrid option at one point, and it didn't go so well, to be honest. So I think with this decision chart, it'll help us kind of evaluate the different factors that go into it, whether it be like the venue costs, if we have the venue still, and then also the equipment as well, because that was a big struggle when we did try hybrid. So I think the equipment suggestions is helpful too to consider. So for right now, I think we're keeping the Zoom just because it's user friendly to us right now. We're used to it, but it might be helpful to reevaluate that in the future.
Right. And it's a decision that can change over time. And
Patricia has her hand raised.
okay, Patricia, go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much for this presentation. I am a longtime educator, and I just have to be truthful. Just looking at what's on the screen makes me block, and I can't process anything. It's too busy, it's too small, and I don't know if this is how you're introducing the hybrid to possible users.
It is a document that is meant to be printed possibly for you and your club, Patricia. It is not.
Let me do this because we actually put the file in the chat for that very reason. And if you thought you had to read it off the screen, that wasn't the copy. That is not in a good format for you to work off of. You're right. So until we're ready to go back to the presentation, I shouldn't probably have it up there.
Yeah, there's a PDF version and a Word version in the chat.
Okay, thanks, John.
Okay.
Does anybody have an argument for only face-to-face?
Mhm.
Nobody?
But it's probably that you don't have 3 people spending 30 minutes before the meeting was set up.
Yeah. And Kathy is going to go into more of the technology piece. Kathy and I are aware of one club currently that is meeting only face-to-face. And they are trying to go through different options. But right now, they're committed to the face-to-face situation. So there is a valid reason for having club virtually only, hybrid, as well as face-to-face. And I believe that we're out of time, Kathy, based on what we have here. So if we could pull up the presentation slide. And again, that the slide deck will be available for your future use. And we weren't intending for you to read that slide. Okay, 5 questions to ask you, yourself and your club before adopting a hybrid format. You want to ask, is the club willing to make the hybrid format meeting work? Because yes, there are some decisions, there's some technology, there's monetary considerations. Is there reliable internet access? Guess what? If you don't have that, you're probably not moving forward with hybrid. Can several members handle the tech setup? Again, you don't want to rely on one person. You want to have a variety of people. Do you have both local and remote attendees participating equally? And again, reach out if you end up going hybrid. Expand your club growth that way. And will you now accept members that don't reside locally? Is that something that you are considering? Because remember, you're looking at hybrid, not as necessarily as a temporary option, but something that you're going to have going forward in the future.
Marcus Simmer is commenting that number 4 in the previous screen is something you'd like more information about.
Again, you don't want to favor the in-person audience over the virtual audience. You don't want to favor the ones that are only virtually. So when you have table topics, you're ensuring both are participating. Again, acknowledging both sets of audience. They're both equally important. One is not more important. Okay, we're going to move forward because Kathy's got a lot of equipment to show you. Common pitfalls. It's how far you need to be from the mic, where to look in the camera. And again, it's keeping connected to the audience physically and the Zoom audience. Some of these are obvious. Etiquette of other devices, muting devices. Nobody wants to hear a cell phone ringing when they're speaking. Ground rules not explained. Your club may have different ground rules that you want to establish. Do you believe the equipment setup is too complex, or you think there's nobody that's going to be able to know how to set it up if you're only relying on that one person? You think it's too expensive. Well, we're going to show you it doesn't have to be. And Kathy is now going to lead the way with all of our technology options.
Thank you, Brenda. Yes, there is a lot of choice out there for technology for hybrid meetings. And it's really designed to build that bridge between the online and the physical meetings with the right setup. The ideal meeting setup, is that what we think we want? Maybe not, because you have to contrast it with what is realistic for your club. Things like a laptop, a stable internet connection, the microphone, the video, the sound, and the display are considerations that you have many choices in many price ranges to decide upon. If you are in a corporate club, you might be very lucky that you have access to a conference room that's got a lot of fancy equipment in it already. And this would be a more expensive solution for somebody who's in a community club to set up. But if you have it, you have access to it, and the employees are allowed to use it, you might see something like this. This is pretty complex with a couple of laptops on the conference room table, a TV screen that they're connected into that has a camera, probably a nice camera. It might even be one of those that turns to whichever speaker is speaking. These are things that you could go all out and purchase yourself, but it's expensive. If you want to go on the completely other side, a la cheap as I can possibly go, you need only a basic configuration to do that. You could get away with a laptop that's got a built-in mic and a camera built in, and you just need then a good Wi-Fi connection, and you could hold a hybrid meeting. It might be a little lacking in quality, particularly for sound, for people to hear well, and for people to have good audio for the Zoom audience. Your remote Toastmasters, they could be anywhere in the world, and that is the value of Zoom, and you have a larger audience that way. What I am kind of passionate about in my clubs is bringing something that is somewhat low tech, but still high quality. A laptop that has Zoom configured on it is obviously an essential, but you really just need then a Wi-Fi router, 2 to even 3 cameras. Usually 2 is okay, but 3 can be nice. High quality microphone. The sound is very important. You could get away with a little bit less video quality, but if you cannot hear the speaker, how can you evaluate the speaker? And then a TV or a projector. Or you can use another device like, in my case, I sometimes just use a tablet. If you're a small room, you can get away with that. A sound system, some kind of a speaker. That's the minimum high quality hybrid meeting setup. And when we talk about not preferring to look into the eyes of the Zoom audience over looking into the eyes of the physical in-person audience, the idea is to have that experience where, just like in this picture, the people are connected to each other. You can give somebody a best evaluator ribbon that is on the Zoom audience, and he's interacting with the Zoom audience in a way that feels very natural. And that's what we hope to get to in a hybrid meeting where everyone feels equally involved. Some people, I think I heard say that you tried the hybrid meetings, but there were all kinds of pitfalls. Well, planning is the way that you can get around some of those pitfalls. If you make yourself a checklist similar to this one, and it's in the handouts, this hybrid meeting checklist, this is something that you can have in your Sergeant at Arms toolkit. And every meeting as you're getting going, you can just say, do I have this? Do I have this? Do I have this? Check, check, check. And it will simplify and shorten your setup time by doing that. So things like, somebody has to remember, what's the Wi-Fi password? Oh, I wrote it down somewhere, but I can't find it. Well, if it's all on the checklist, you're going to be in good shape. I have several resources here, and these are links that we can drop in the chat for you to go and do some extra homework if you choose. That hybrid meeting checklist is on there, some videos that you can watch. There's a lot of hybrid resources available that are even posted to the Toastmasters website. And there's a direction to a wonderful Tech for Toastmasters YouTube channel that talks about hybrid meetings and many other tech solutions for us. I want to summarize and let you know that a hybrid meeting has to be a careful decision. As Brenda went over in the earlier part of this meeting, you have to decide if, when, and how that you're going to go hybrid, and choose the equipment that fits your club's need and budget. Because your club, if it meets in a small, quiet room, doesn't need the fancy sound equipment that someone else might need that meets in a noisy, perhaps outdoor environment or something. That wouldn't be the right choice of equipment to spend money on in a quiet room. So keep all the harmony intact with the Zoomies and the roomies. You know, I love that phrase. I think Franny Stein used it in a presentation recently. And have your checklist handy. Make sure you do allow enough time for setup. When you get good at setting up a hybrid meeting, it can take as little as 15 minutes, maybe less, but don't expect perfection the first time and give it a go. I'd like to share with you, and I just put a couple extra slides in here because I think it helps you to know what you'll spend money on and how much the equipment costs. So before I go to Q&A, would like to just share with you the equipment that I have that I run hybrid meetings at 3 clubs. There's a little tripod to hold a phone, and that was $18, not very expensive. I had 3 pieces of equipment that I already owned. So, you know, I had a laptop and a phone and an iPad. And I think in most clubs, somebody has this equipment. If not, you will have to have it purchased. But in my case, I had to buy for $30 a little adapter that gave me some, and it looks like this. It's a little adapter, costs $30, gives me extra connectivity for USB-C, HDMI, and even the USB-A connectors. And that takes care of all of the other equipment that has to connect in. A webcam, the one that I use, is $66 at Best Buy. And a tripod to hold your webcam, that's $20 at Target. And I bought a microphone that I like. It's called a Yeti Blue, and it's $99. That was the most expensive piece of equipment that I bought. And a little Bluetooth speaker that helps people in the room. And everything right here is how I run my meeting. I don't have a projector. I don't have a TV. In some of the rooms that I've run meetings in, the TV is part of the room. So that worked out very nicely. But on my wish list, if I had to add one more piece of equipment, the piece of equipment that I would add is this projector. Now that's going to cost $300. But when you're talking about equipment and everything that I purchased to run the hybrid meetings that I've been running, that cost right around $250. It's not a break the bank situation. But this one projector, and it would be nice because it's also a speaker and it's very small and fairly powerful. That would be a nice addition to my kit. So over time, your club might not have the budget at the beginning, but in another 6 months or a year, maybe they do. And then you add on to your toolkit. So that's just an example. And I'd love to hear from the audience. Are there any questions in the audience?
I'm wondering, I may have missed it because I had to take a call, but have you used the OWL, and what do you think of it if you've used it? If you haven't already discussed that.
I like the OWL. We talked a little bit about corporate conference rooms sometimes having that kind of equipment. And I looked at it and it was a little beyond my price point. And I felt that it's a nice to have, But depending on the meeting room you're in and the meeting rooms I've been in, I hadn't really needed that technology. But I would like to be in a meeting that is using it to see how much better it is.
Okay, yeah, we've used it very successfully.
Mhm.
And one of the things to keep in mind is that they do have a refurbished program for not-for-profits and Toastmasters. And so instead of 1,000, it's like 700, which is still a lot of money, but it includes your camera and includes your speaker. And the speaker is even better than the camera. That's what I think it really shines.
Well, that's nice. It is a little pricey, as you said, but when you want to put on a really high quality meeting, I'm sure it makes it much better. I think $700 is 3 times what I spent on everything that I run, the hybrid meeting that I currently run with. So it's taking me a little longer to come to the decision to go to that, but I've heard great things about them. Thank you.
And Kathy, Marcus has his hand raised.
Okay.
Hello. So, and I kind of alluded to it earlier in the wanting some more information regarding question 4 regarding the, as I liked what I heard for the first time today, roomies versus zoomies. And we're going to look at doing hybrid, but how do you make sure that the people in the actual roomies are still aware of the zoomies? And, you know, can you have a zoomie doing the odd counter role while you have a speech evaluator in the roomie? How to help me understand some tips and tricks to make sure that we have that balance of roomies versus zoomies?
Sure. I think some of the best meetings are when the numbers are equal, roughly equal between the roomies and the zoomies. But every meeting role, you should have a plan for how that can run if it's a zoomie or if it's a roomie holding that role. And part of these things are the establishing the ground rules at the beginning of the meeting. You know, when the sergeant at arms gets up and says, mute your cell phones and do all this, he could also be giving some special hybrid meeting tips like, here is the camera. You need to look into the camera to look at your Zoom audience, and you need to give equal attention to your physical audience so that people know and expect that. And if there's a timer, they may need to have a separate person that is showing the Zoom audience the cards as a virtual background, and somebody in the room is showing it with the lights. So that can be something that you might have a dual situation. When people are hearing the virtual audience better than they're hearing the physical audience, that creates disharmony. So it's something to make sure that you establish in your 15 minutes when you start your Zoom meeting, 15 minutes before start time. Then you can have people comment on how is the sound in the virtual room? How is the sound in the virtual space? Can everyone hear everyone? Those are some tips. If there are, if screen sharing in the physical room is something that can be done, but it's a little bit more complicated in the physical room. So probably people at a lectern will want to have, this is an example of a little remote clicker to advance PowerPoint slides. And so this one end plugs into the USB, and this other end, you can just advance your slides. So those kind of things are helpful.